Wow. For more, I'm joined by tonight's Hardball Roundtable. Kimberly Atkins, Washington Bureau Chief of the Boston Herald. U.S. Congresswoman Sherry Bustos, a Democrat from Illinois, and U.S. Congressman Ryan Costello, a Republican from Pennsylvania. A great group to talk about politics, and that's what it is. Let me go to Sherry Bustos. Congresswoman, I thought the way that Nancy Pelosi handled Trump yesterday was like a lion tamer. She might as well have had a chair out. And she was very polite, very civil, and she pushed him back and said, I'll describe my leadership position. I'm not going to let you do it.
I think that's a perfect way to describe it. I think it was masterful. I think if there were any of these incoming freshman members of Congress or the so-called rebel group who weren't convinced last night, I don't know what would convince them that she should be the next Speaker of the House. And
Kimberly, she didn't raise her voice. She didn't use sarcasm. She didn't use dirty names, nicknames. She didn't make fun of his looks. She just very demurely, or with the right word, ladylike, whatever the word is, and just said, back off. Don't mansplain me.
Right. She said, I'm not the one. I mean, she stood her ground, checked him immediately, tried several times to say, look, let's not do this in front of the cameras. But when he pushed it, she made clear that she could do it in front of the cameras if she had to. And I think after that moment, it was very difficult to make an argument as to how anyone, certainly no one, because there is no challenger, could serve the role as Speaker better than she can, coming up being Washington's top Democrat facing off to Donald Trump.
Ryan, what do you make? This is tricky business, but I'm going to go in here. What do you make of Trump's posture sitting in that room? The way he sits, the whole...
He always sits that way, though.
What would you call that? What do you call that?
It's like, I don't know.
The man spread, or whatever you call it. Look at that. Look, he widens his legs as far as possible. Man spreading, or whatever it is. Mansplaining. He's also mansplaining out there with the hands. Let me explain this to you, dear, or whatever he's doing here. What do you make of that? Because it didn't work.
Well, I've seen him do it with you, too. I saw a picture where he does a lot of this sort of showman-type stuff. I'm going to say this. I think that Ms. Pelosi probably did herself very well with any undecided Democrat and with base voters. I will also say this, though. If for President Trump, when he leaned in and he told Senator Schumer, I'll own it, I'll own the shutdown, I don't care, his base loves him for doing that. So in a weird sort of way, I think it was a draw as between who was Pelosi speaking to. I think she was speaking to Democrats who want to see somebody stand up to the president. I think the president was speaking to his base because the base loves to see him say, I don't care what you say. This is what I'm for. We're going to do it anyway. I mean,
do you think his base wants to shut down the government, Congresswoman?
He said he'd be proud to shut down the government.
How about his base? They don't care.
I don't know. I probably don't fit as part of his base, but, I don't know why anybody would accept the President of the United States saying he would be proud to shut down the government.
He is in charge of being the chief executive.
The problem will be Republicans under him who are living in districts where their base will not be happy with the prospect of the government shutting down a few days before Christmas. Taking out or taking the paychecks away to people who are guarding the border right now. We're talking about Department of Homeland Security folks. That I don't think that will go over. That'll put Republicans in a tough spot.
Well, the president made clear that he doesn't get the funding. If he doesn't get the funding for the border wall, he'll shut the government down. Here he is.
If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay. And this morning, Trump used the news about a terrorist incident over in France to push for wall funding. He tweeted, another very bad terror attack in France. We are going to strengthen our borders even more. Well, some Republican lawmakers are voicing concern over the president's call to shut down the government over border wall funding. West Virginia Senator Shelley Moore Capito told Bloomberg it's a fool's errand, in my opinion. And Arizona Senator Jeff Flake told NBC News that nobody wins with government shutdowns. I don't know. What do you think? I'm going to go back to you. You said people get hurt. Ryan, you say people don't care on his side. They don't care what he does as long as he's fighting.
I think the base loves the fact that he's willing to shut it down over the wall because he hasn't gotten the wall yet. He's going to want to pin this on the fact.
Is he going to get the wall?
He's going to, I bet you he gets more than 1.8, but less than the $5 billion. The deal is with 8 or 9 Democrats in the Senate. I mean, in the House, it's going to be probably all Republican votes once it comes back. That's probably...
Look, talk about wasting federal money. I mean, you can argue whether we need a wall or not, but there's no reason the wall to have a 1/10 of a wall. I mean, what's the purpose? It doesn't stop anybody from coming in the country. It's a complete waste of time to do a partial wall, isn't it? Isn't that stupid?
Well, ultimately, it has to be part by part by part.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't campaign on a wall across the entire board, so I'm trying to make the argument that is not necessarily my argument to make, but it would be incremental. I think somebody like Will Hurd, who says a wall in certain parts along the border makes sense, but not along the entire border. And interestingly, the president is now at least bringing up the fact that some of this is figuratively speaking, and it's border security, not just.
Okay, how's this going to end? Here's a week from now, they go on vacation, or they don't go. Sherry Bustos, what's going to happen? What are the Democratic leaders going to do? They're going to say. Nancy Pelosi was really tough yesterday. She said, you don't have the votes, Mr. President, for your wall.
Well, we're not going to give them any votes. And here's the thing. They are in charge. It is Ryan's party in charge of the House, of the Senate, and the White House. So Nancy Pelosi's message to the president is, you don't have the votes, but you have the ability to get this done. If you've got the votes, you don't need us. I mean, they're in charge of every branch of this government.
And you have more leverage in January. So if it shuts down,
January
Democrats
3rd.
have more leverage in January. So any deal we get can only be as conservative as 8 Democrats in the Senate are willing to give.
Well, when he was asked about the threat of potential impeachment, the president told Reuters, I'm not concerned. No, I think that the people would revolt if that happened. So I'm going to start with you, nonpartisan here. What does the president mean there will be a revolt? Is it a metaphor?
Look, I know.
Or is it real?
He has a core group of constituents within his base that probably would get out and protest or make a lot of noise if that were to happen. And he would probably feed that by, decrying that this is some sort of coup. But look, we've had 2 impeachments in our country's history. Somehow the country has survived. I don't think it will happen in the literal term.
Congresswoman, I don't know if he does it, because I think we're underestimating this guy's wildness. I think Trump may well be a revolt, like some kind of thing like the Whiskey Rebellion or something, or something like Macron over in Paris, where they start shutting down the streets and protest.
Well, I think it's a shout out to his base that, this is what he's calling for. We've talked about this before. What we need to do as Democrats, when we are in the majority, come January 3rd, we have these guys who are going to be chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Oversight, Judiciary. They are good, reasonable people. They will be guided by the truth, and that's what needs to, whatever happens.